Do-do-dee. It's Nandi!
Hello friends, we're back today with another quest video, this time for the Black Templar's character, Brother Godswyl. You know the drill by now. I'll show you each stage, the characters I've used, as well as some tips both through commentary and text format. On this slide you can see the characters that we used and the rarities required for them. You'll note that no legendary characters are used for the entire event. The legendary node was slightly harder than others, and for the most repeatable results, I used Isabella at Gold 2. Kyle, the developer that designs the quest, says that he tests these legendary nodes with Gold 2 and level 41 abilities, so I'd say it's a fair use of a character to beat the node at its intended difficulty. Common 1 asks us to use Black Templars units only, and to finish the fight in a single turn. We position with Brother Burchard at the tip of the triangle and Godswyl down to the bottom left. For the fight, we send Brother Burchard up first and use his active ability to target the pink horror on the low ground. This should also kill the adjacent pink horror unless you get unlucky and the pink horrors block the damage. Godswyl then runs up the left hand side and kills the top 2 remaining pink horrors, before the last Black Templar unit finishes off the last pink horror. I use Thoriad, but you could use any Black Templar you wish for the last slot. For Common 2 we have a left-hand line of Varro, Godswyl and Sarquel. We then have Vindicta off to the right. We use Vindicta and Varro to clear the front line waves of enemies. Sarquel remains stationary, and that lets him use his Overwatch attack to kill the incoming Screamer on the approach. None of the enemy units can reach us on their turn, so we complete the fight easily on turn 2. For Common 3, our forces are split into 2. Sarquel, Vindicta and Godswyl on the left, and Varro and Thaddeus on the right. We start by sending Godswyl up the left flank and use his active ability to push the Rubric Marine into the middle. This allows us to use the combination of Vindicta, Varro and Thaddeus to kill the frontline enemies. Sarquel kills an enemy with his Overwatch attack, and the remaining enemies are too far away to attack us on turn 1. It's therefore fairly trivial for us to clear the battlefield on our turn 2. For Uncommon 1 we bring Bellator and Isabella to the battlefield. Godswyl and Isabella are on the bottom of the map and Bellator looks on from the top. Godswyl and Isabella attack and kill 2 out of the 3 bottom 2 Rubric Marines. Bellator then flies from the top of the map and creates an Inceptor summon to finish off the Screamer. The pink horrors on the ridge don't have any targets to attack, so they amble down towards our force. The key here is letting the pink horrors attack your summoned Inceptor and then finishing them off on turn 3 after healing yourself up. In Uncommon 2 we have 2 lines of units. We have Certus and Sarquel on the left and Vindicta and Godswyl on the right. We use Vindicta to clear out the pink horrors on the bottom right hand side of the map. We then use our 2 Overwatch units, Sarquel and Certus, to one-shot the incoming Screamers with their Overwatch trait. The remaining Rubric Marines don't have a viable target in range and move down. All we have to do now is reposition and attack as shown on screen in order to achieve another flawless victory. There isn't really a magic science to Uncommon 3. Due to the number of enemies in the battlefield and awkward terrain, you can't beat it using a particularly clever strategy. You simply have to fight the enemies and keep your characters healthy. The restriction of maximum 2 hits on this node means that Isabella isn't an option, so I've brought along Incisus and Actus here as a biological as well as a mechanical healer. Tangita and his summons are reasonably useful, offsetting the damage loss of 2 healers by creating strong summons. Now we move on to Rare. Rare 1 is pretty easy. From top to bottom we position Godswyl, Sarquel and Thaddeus. I use Thaddeus here to kill the bottom Screamer, but just about any ranged damage dealer will do. Sarquel then uses his active on the Rubric Marine in the middle, and that lets Godswyl move across the bridge and deal with both the Screamers at the same time. For Rare 2, the positioning from left to right is Commissar Yarrick, Godswyl and Burchard. We start with Brother Burchard using his basic attack to kill the Screamers in the top right hand side of the map. We add a few summons through Commissar Yarrick, fully expecting them not to kill the Rubric Marine and then letting Godswyl finish off the Rubric Marine on the north. The pink horrors can't reach us on their turn, and they're simply sitting ducks for our guardsmen and characters to finish them off as the turn cycles back to us for another flawless victory. For Rare 3, we position with Bellator on the left, Godswyl in the middle, and Isabella on the right. Sometimes there isn't a beautiful or elegant solution. We simply face too many enemies on this map, and as a result, we have to just brute force our way through with a healer. The key thing here is summoning on turn 2 with Bellator, so that you have enough units to finish the fight in a timely fashion. As usual, make sure to check and heal up with Isabella before finishing the fight. Positioning wise for Rare 4, we'll start with Ulf and Isabella on the left and Godswyl and Thaddeus on the right. We turtle with our units into the bottom left hand corner of the map, with Ulf at the peak of the formation. The enemy screamers dash forward and meet their demise at the end of his axe. We then reposition into the top left corner and fight against the Rubric Marines, holding our turtle formation with Isabella at the centre into the choke. We finish off the battle fairly easily, but make sure that our units are fully healed by the end of the fight. I'll pause on the moment on the screen for Rare 5 so that you can see the positioning for the characters here. What we do is we use Sarquael and Thaddeus to use their basic attacks on the pink horrors in the top right hand side of the map. Varro then attacks the Screamer across the ridge, and Godswyl moves down the left hand side of the map to attack the two pink horrors there. Really, that's the key to the opening, and you might have some variability depending on who gets critical hits. The rest of the fight again is a bit of a dance where you balance out damage and heals to finish off the rest of the characters. We've saved up Sarquael's active, so if the enemy approaches along the right hand bridge, you can use the active and potentially kill two of them at once. Just remember to balance damage and healing in order to finish the fight in a clean manner. We're now into Epic, and for Epic 1 we position with Sarquael, Vindicta and Godswyl from left to right. Again, another fairly easy level provided you have the investment into Vindicta. Godswyl simply moves and finishes the Rubric Marine off on the right hand side of the map. Then Vindicta uses her flamethrower and nukes the remaining enemies. I've thrown Sarquael here as a bit of insurance in case your skills aren't high enough to directly kill them with Vindicta. For Epic 2 we line up at the back of the map. Varro, Incissus, Godswyl and Sarquael. Godswyl moves through the centre and attacks a Terminator. Sarquael remains stationary and uses his active on the left hand side Rubric Marines. Varro joins the fun and helps to finish them off. Really, that's the crucial opening information, and after that you have another 2 turns just to clean the enemies up and make sure that your own characters are fully healthy. For Epic 3 we deploy in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. We bring 2 admechs, Tangita and Actus, as well as Vindicta, Thaddeus and Godswyl. By moving Tangita and then Actus before attacking, you spawn your Skitarii summons on the north, and they draw the enemy aggro. Vindicta then joins the team on the bridge and lays more flame heat towards the left hand enemies. On turn 2 we reposition slightly. Vindicta uses her active ability to kill the 2 units on the top left before we finish off the enemy with our admechs and make sure that we heal to keep them healthy for a flawless victory. This legendary mission is hard, and I saw the quest developer, Kyle, saying that he tests and balances these legendary missions with Gold 2 and level 41 abilities. I've therefore allowed myself the luxury of Isabella at that level, but have the remaining characters at Gold 1 and ability level 35. There are a few key movements before it becomes a slugfest and devolves into keeping your units healthy before the end of the battle. We send Godswyl off to the right and kill the Terminator right away. The rest of our team turtles to the left and kills the Rubric Marines. The enemy moves downfield on the next turn and we end up losing Varro. Sarquael's active ability gets 2 enemies before we resurrect Varro with Isabella's active ability. The rest of the fight is just a question of balancing damage with heals, and here we are able to close out the fight eventually with a flawless victory. Okay, that's all I've got for today. Hopefully it was useful for you. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to support me in the work that I do, I'd love if you could consider entering my referral code as seen on screen. It earns you 100 Blackstone and supports me in the work that I do. It is single use though, so choose who you support carefully. Bye for now.
Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi.